the small sleepy town of Ravenswood, where secrets lingered like shadows, my life took a dark turn. I was 16, filled with the reckless curiosity that often accompanies youth. It was on a cool autumn afternoon, leaves crunching underfoot, when I stumbled upon an old abandoned mansion hidden deep within the woods. Its crumbling facade and shattered windows beckoned me, whispering tales of forgotten times. The mansion's door creaked open with a push, revealing a world long lost to decay. Dust danced in the slivers of sunlight that pierced through the broken roof, and the air was thick with the scent of mildew. As I explored, my footsteps echoing through the desolate halls, I felt a strange pull guiding me to a small, dusty chest in a forgotten corner of the mansion. My hands trembled as I lifted the lid, revealing an assortment of trinkets and artifacts. Among them, a mysterious key gleamed, its cold metal sending a shiver down my spine. It was an intricate design, unlike anything I had ever seen, with ancient symbols etched into its surface. Little did I know, this key held the power to unlock a long-forgotten evil. Driven by curiosity, I slipped the key into my pocket and continued my exploration. The mansion felt alive, its walls whispering secrets as I wandered through its decaying rooms. I imagined the lives once lived here, the stories etched into the very fabric of the place. But soon a sense of unease settled over me, and I decided to leave. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't shake the feeling that the key was more than just a relic. It felt heavy in my pocket, as if it carried a burden far greater than its physical weight. I dreamt of dark corridors and shadowy figures, waking in a cold sweat with the key still clutched in my hand. Over the following days, I began to notice changes in Ravenswood. The air grew colder and a sense of dread hung over the town. Strange occurrences became commonplace. Unexplained noises, sudden gusts of wind, and an eerie silence that seemed to blanket everything. The townspeople whispered of an ancient curse, but I dismissed their fears as mere superstition. My fascination with the key deepened, and I spent hours researching its origins. I scoured old books and talked to the town's elders, piecing together fragments of a dark history. The key, I discovered, was said to unlock a gateway to another realm, a place where unspeakable horrors awaited. But I was skeptical, refusing to believe in such fantastical tales. One evening, driven by an inexplicable urge, I returned to the mansion. The air was thick with anticipation as I made my way to the hidden chamber I had discovered earlier. The walls were lined with ancient runes, their meanings lost to time. In the center of the room stood an ornate lock, a perfect match for the key I held. With a sense of foreboding, I inserted the key into the lock. As I turned it, a low rumble reverberated through the chamber, and the air grew colder still. A crack appeared in the floor, widening into a dark chasm. From its depths, an otherworldly force began to rise, filling the room with a palpable malevolence. Panic surged through me as I realized the gravity of my actions. The darkness spread like a living thing, creeping through the mansion and out into the town. I could hear distant screams and the sound of shattering glass as the evil began to manifest. I tried to turn the key back, but it was too late. The force had been unleashed. Ravenswood descended into chaos. The once quiet town was now a battleground, with people fighting to survive the horrors that had been unleashed. Strange creatures roamed the streets, and an oppressive darkness blanketed everything. Fear and despair, took hold of the townspeople. Their faces twisted in terror. I felt a crushing guilt, knowing that I was responsible for the suffering around me. I had to find a way to stop the evil, to lock it away once more. With a heavy heart, I sought out the town's elders, hoping they could provide a solution. They spoke of an ancient ritual, a way to seal the darkness, but it required great sacrifice. Armed with this knowledge, I gathered the remaining townspeople. Together, we prepared for the ritual, our determination outweighing our fear. We returned to the mansion, now a dark fortress of malevolence. The air crackled with energy as we began the incantations, our voices trembling with the weight of our task. The ritual required a blood offering, a price to be paid for the evil we sought to contain. I stepped forward, willing to bear the burden of my mistake. As the blade cut into my palm, I felt a surge of power, a connection to the ancient forces we were invoking. The ground trembled, and the darkness seemed to recoil. As we continued the ritual, the evil force began to weaken. The creatures that had terrorized the town faded into the shadows, and the oppressive darkness lifted. Hope flickered in the hearts of the townspeople, a glimmer of light in the overwhelming night. But I knew our struggle was far from over. The final part of the ritual required the key to be turned once more, sealing the evil away for good. My hands shook as I approached the lock, the weight of my responsibility heavy on my shoulders. With a deep breath, I inserted the key and began to turn it, praying that our efforts would be enough. As the key clicked into place, a blinding light filled the chamber. The darkness screamed in defiance, but it was no match for the power of the ritual. The chasm closed, and the malevolent force was sealed away, its cries fading into silence. Exhausted, we collapsed to the ground, the weight of our ordeal finally lifting. Ravenswood was forever changed by the events of that night. The town bore the scars of the battle, but the people were resilient. They began to rebuild, their spirits unbroken. The key was hidden away, a reminder of the darkness that lurked just beneath the surface, waiting for the next curious soul. Life slowly returned to normal, but the memories of that night haunted me. I could still feel the cold metal of the key, the weight of my mistake. I had unleashed a force beyond comprehension, and the guilt stayed with me. But I also felt a sense of resolve. I had faced my fears and fought to make things right. As the years passed, the story of the cursed key became a legend in Ravenswood. People spoke of the young girl who had unlocked an ancient evil, and the brave townspeople who had fought to seal it away. The mansion stood as a testament to the battle, its crumbling walls a reminder of the darkness that had once threatened to consume us all. I often visited the mansion, drawn to the place where it all began. The hidden chamber remained sealed, the key buried deep within its confines. I would stand there, feeling the echoes of the past, and wonder what other secrets the town held. But I knew one thing for certain. The evil was contained, and the key would remain hidden, its power locked away. Ravenswood thrived, its people growing stronger in the face of adversity. The town's history became a source of pride, a story of resilience and courage. And though the darkness had been vanquished, the memory of it served as a warning, a reminder that curiosity and recklessness could have dire consequences. I dedicated my life to studying the ancient forces that had once threatened our town. I sought to understand the power of the key, to ensure that such a tragedy would never happen again. My research took me to distant lands and forgotten ruins, uncovering secrets that had been lost to time. Through my studies, I learned of other keys, other gateways to realms beyond our understanding. Each held the potential for great good or immense evil, depending on who wielded them. I made it my mission to find and protect these keys, to keep them out of the hands of those who would misuse their power. My journey was fraught with danger, but I was driven by the memory of Ravenswood and the people I had vowed to protect. I encountered others who had faced similar evils, and together we formed a network, a secret society dedicated to safeguarding the world from the darkness that lurked just beyond the veil. We traveled to ancient temples and hidden caves, uncovering artifacts and performing rituals to seal away the malevolent forces we encountered. Each key we found was a victory, a step towards ensuring the safety of our world. But the burden was heavy, and the cost was great. As I grew older, the weight of my responsibilities began to take its toll. I had sacrificed much in my quest to protect others, but I knew it was necessary. The world was a safer place because of our efforts, and that was enough to keep me going. One day I received a letter from Ravenswood. The town had flourished, its people thriving in the wake of our victory. They invited me to return, to see the place I had once called home. With a heart full of hope, I made my way back to the town that had shaped my destiny. Ravenswood was as beautiful as I remembered, its streets filled with life and laughter. The mansion still stood, a silent guardian of the secrets it held. I was welcomed with open arms, the townspeople grateful for the sacrifices I had made. It was a bittersweet homecoming, filled with memories of the past and hopes for the future. As I walked through the town, I felt a sense of peace that had eluded me for so long. I had done my part to protect the world, and now it was time to rest. I spent my days sharing my stories, teaching the next generation about the dangers and wonders of the ancient forces that lay hidden in our world. The young people of Ravenswood listened with wide eyes, their imaginations sparked by tales of adventure and bravery. I saw in them the same curiosity that had led me to the mansion all those years ago. But I also saw caution, a respect for the unknown that would serve them well. As the years passed, my role in the town became that of a storyteller and guardian. I watched as Ravenswood continued to grow, its people thriving in the light of their resilience. The legend of the cursed key lived on, a reminder of the strength and courage that had saved the town from destruction. In my final years, I often sat by the mansion, watching the sun set over the hills. The key remained hidden, its power contained. I knew that the darkness could rise again, but I also knew that the people of Ravenswood were prepared. They had faced their fears and emerged stronger, and that strength would carry them through whatever challenges lay ahead. On my last day, I stood in the hidden chamber beneath the mansion, the key in my hand. I felt a sense of closure, knowing that my journey had come full circle. I placed the key back in its resting place, the weight lifting from my shoulders. As I turned to leave, I felt a presence, a comforting warmth that told me I had done enough. I passed away in the town I loved, surrounded by the people who had become my family. My story became part of the town's history, a testament to the power of courage and resilience. Ravenswood continued to thrive, its people forever vigilant against the darkness that lay just beneath the surface. The key remained hidden, its secrets known only to a select few. The ancient forces that had once threatened our world were contained, their power locked away. But the memory of that night in the mansion lived on, a reminder of the dangers that curiosity and recklessness could bring. The people of Ravenswood honored my memory by continuing the work I had started. They formed a new generation of guardians, dedicated to protecting the world from the ancient forces that lay hidden. Together, they ensured that the darkness would never rise again. My legacy lived on through the stories told around the fireside, the lessons passed down from generation to generation. Ravenswood remained a place of light and hope, its people strong and resilient. The mansion stood as a reminder of the past, a symbol of the town's victory over the darkness. As time passed, the story of the cursed key became legend, a tale of bravery and sacrifice that inspired all who heard it. The people of Ravenswood knew that the key held the power to unleash great evil, but they also knew that it could be contained by those with the courage to face it. And so, the key remained hidden, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked just beneath the surface. The people of Ravenswood continued to live their lives, forever vigilant against the forces that threatened their world. And though I was gone, my story lived on, a testament to the power of courage and resilience in the face of unimaginable darkness.